All right. Hello, everybody. To this discovery session of test planning. My name is Michael Kissel. I'm a solution architect basically for Germany within Tricentis for more than 6 years now. Just recently took over the role as a team lead for the German, Austrian, and Swiss team. So here's our agenda for this short session. So we start with some introduction. So how did test planning evolve over time on the one hand side, and secondly, we will see what is test planning, how do we within Tricentis and with our test planning component understand test planning, and then I have some short demo, and afterwards we're more than happy to see you at the corresponding booth, reaching out to our colleagues, and first of all, thanks to our engineers for coming up with this great solution. So back then, what was test planning? Test planning seemed to be carried out by some experts. Sometimes even looked like they're performing some magic, right? And it was, honestly, it was a quite tedious, quite cumbersome task, right? And they had super complex processes, and there was hardly, I would say, nobody in the enterprise companies that had an overview or a clue over the entire process, right? And then there, on the other hand side, there's the times when we worked with this, right? So all the Excel sheets and the test manager, he did some updates to those Excel sheets, and he could never be sure and certain, was it the last version? Did I update the right file? And it got even worse if we think of this happening. So when the Excel sheets even got interconnections, data got propagated from one file to another, and so that was honestly, that was a total mess, right? So the old way of test planning, right, it doesn't work nowadays anymore. We have this trend to Agile, this fast-paced working, so we need to come up with a new model of test planning. And what is test planning now? So there's basically there's different tracks to test planning. Some of those are more straightforward, some others are a bit more curvy, I would say. So if we narrow it down, there's three major methodologies that we see when it comes to those approaches, which is definitely the old one, which is waterfall, right? I mean, you're all, I guess, familiar with it. Don't have to talk too much about Agile, and additionally, we see Kanban out there. So, and if we look into enterprise customers and enterprise companies, what we figure out is that in fact, there's no pure Agile, there's no pure waterfall or Kanban approaches. You will figure out that there's, on average, a kind of mixture within enterprise companies. So you find some Kanban, you maybe find some Agile, still there's waterfall out there. The good news is, if it comes to Tosca test planning, it doesn't matter which approach you follow, because the way we choose to implement test planning serves all those methodologies. So what is it? What we had always in place in Tosca is what we see over here, is which we covered various test activities, right, that serve to some extent and contribute to the topic of test management, such as we have the requirements in Tosca, we have the risk-based approach, we have things like test case design, all the stuff about the execution and the organizing the execution, the reporting and those things. What was so far missing for the aspect and the process of test management as such was the test planning component, which we have then added. So this is then really planning all sorts of activities that we had before available in Tosca, and that means we get to managing the entire testing process by the means of planning, executing the test activities, in the end, of course, have the reporting, right? So what is it? What we have implemented is a session-based approach, kind of a similar way what we did with the exploratory testing, and when we will go into the live demo, you will see the similarities between the look and feel we have in exploratory testing and now in test planning as well. As I already mentioned, independent from the approach that you choose. If you're waterfall, if you're agile, it doesn't matter. It serves because sometimes you even have those mixtures. And the good thing is the coverage. So you not could only plan your activities that are related to things in Tosca, but the surrounding stuff as well. So for example, ramping up your testers, right? Preparing the test environment, and in the end, maybe even planning your release party, right? So everything can be in test planning. What are, to just sum it up, the benefits of test planning? It's fully integrated in Tosca as all of the other components as well, right? You can really evolve from that what it has been before, this just pure, I would say, execution management, to a process management with having now test planning available in Tosca. Stay on top of your activities, have always the overview of what is going on, and what I like the best of it is it comes at no additional cost. So let's jump into some live demonstration. Therefore, I will switch to a small virtual environment I have prepared. There we go. So here we have Tosca. It's the Accelerate release. You might have seen it already at some booths, at some other presentations. We have come up with a separate area, which is this, I would say it's dark blue folders, right? It's a separate area if you look to the project roots of Tosca. And we have come up with several new artifacts within test planning. So you can have as many of those folders. If we just expand one of those, and have the same view over here, we see already some new artifacts that we have introduced, which is, we see here some test planning sessions, and additionally, we have those milestones that we have introduced within test planning. Furthermore, if we just jump into such a test planning section, you see already the parallelity to the exploratory testing, right? So the look and feel is kind of quite similar. So a session has always an owner, obviously. We have that time-boxed aspect of the planning session. So you have a start, you have an end. The information of task duration and status is obviously a summing up of what is happening underneath. So there's no, you don't make any changes there. It's just it's summed up from all the activities, right? And looking at the status of the different tasks, and that's another new artifact. So when you have assigned your session participants, you can assign tasks to those, right? That's the third artifact we have introduced, and as you can see, the tasks themselves, they can have some information about the time spent, about their status, and we have some assignee. What is behind that I will cover in 1 or 2 minutes, right? So let's do the following. So what I will do is I will add a new user here, and what it does when I just start typing, it looks up within the user management of Tosca the available users, and I can just select them. So, and if we just create a new task for Michael now, let's say this is the discovery session, then I have a new task, and as you can see on that, either on the let's say session level, we can have a session description, we can attach files that can either be Tosca artifacts or whatever kind of documents that you have, let's say on your file system or somewhere on your network drives, right? It's the same if we go to the tester itself. You can have some description for the tester. You can attach some dedicated to your tester documents. And in the end, if we go to the discovery session itself, the discovery session is the task. So if you go to the task itself, you can have a task description and can attach some documents there as well. So it's entirely the same from the session to the user to the task, right? That you can provide information here. The cool thing now is, and we have two views. If we look to the to the session, or if we look to the overall folder where I have multiple sessions and milestones, we have this kind of table-like view on things. And additionally, as you can see over here with the tab, we have this more visualization in a, I wouldn't call it a Gantt chart, but in a Gantt chart-like way, right? So we see, on the one hand side, we see this orange dotted line, which is always the actual date. And we see here on the timeline, we see the milestones, which are with these blue dotted lines. Then if you hover over, you get some more details. If you double click, you jump directly to those objects. And we see the sessions that are set up and some different colors here on the sessions themselves. So the orange ones are sessions that have ended, but not all the tasks within the sessions have been completed, right? So you might have some tasks left there which you might shift to other sessions or reschedule or stuff like that, right? We have the ones with the darker and the lighter gray, right, which are still ongoing, as we can see, as this is today. The test cases SAP and the test cases Java are still in progress, I would say, or have not even started. And if everything is done, it turns green, right? So if we come back to what I mentioned before, which is this assignee thing, right? So what we have introduced as well with the test planning is the My Area. Let me just quickly dock that here. So I'm the user Michael, right? I'm logged in as Michael. So when I go to My Area, I have two tabs here, which is test planning and bookmarks on the one hand side. And on test planning, I just get presented the tasks and the artifacts that I'm assigned to, right? So I can stay ahead of what I have to take care of. I get some quick information on those things, like the status, like the time spent, the priority. And if we open up here the session of ramp-up test, we will find, let me just make that a bit bigger here. So we find this discovery session here that we just created before. So I can easily set in this My Area, I can change the status, for example. I can assign some time there that I spend, right? So maybe I spend some 5 minutes there and keep track of things, right? Additionally, we have put in, and that is not directly related, but I don't want to miss to mention it, is the bookmarks. I mean, the bookmarks have been around for years now in Tosca. They were maybe not so prominent, right? But they're available now here in this My Area thing. So you can always take whatever objects, just like taking some test case template, right, and put it into the bookmarks, and you get a direct link and can jump to the objects, right, which is a nice feature, I would say. Last but not least, there is the last artifact we haven't seen so far. So this is what we call the test planning view folders, right? You have seen I have set up some kind of structure. I have some folder structure which is covering a kind of team-like structure or project-like structure. What a test manager might need is some customized view on things, right? So that's what the test planning view folders are for. So you can really create your own view. So for example, I'm interested in everything that is related to SAP. So I can just drag and drop all the SAP related information, maybe from team B as well, drag all those objects. It's just a reference, and therefore have then on this test planning view folder, if we just close that, we have the complete view of all the elements that I have put into this test planning view folder. And that's so far from the live demo. So let me just point you to my fellow colleagues, which are at booth T11. It's called Agile Test Management, the booth. Feel free to reach out to my colleagues there if you have any further questions. I'm around as well. So thanks for your attendance.